Happy Monday. Just getting done with this cardio. Happy to be back on this regimen because it just makes sense. And I know that as soon as I get everything dialed in as far as the eating is concerned, then I'll be in a good position. I'm actually in a great position right now. I mean, heck, I just deadlifted 400 pounds yesterday, so one would say for someone with a back injury in 1 year to make it to that, that's an achievement. So I'll be happy about that. You know, fat loss may not be, you know, the cornerstone of my achievements right now, but you know, lifting heavy, especially in the legs, is one of my major goals. So as long as those lifts are going up, I guess I can't complain, and I won't. I'm not a complainer at all. You know, you're just not going to get that from me. No reason to complain. Why complain? I mean, you know, complaining is going to get us nowhere. So that brings me to the topic. If your eating's not under control, you could do all the cardio in the world, and what I recommend is the fasted cardio in the AM, what I'm doing. But, you know, eliminate the late night eating, because as an endomorph, you already have a slow metabolism. Your body needs to be focused on burning fat. So you're looking at, you know, I'd say, you know, if you're going to bed earlier than like 9 o'clock, you know, then I'd say, you know, the latest, no matter what, I don't care what time you go to bed. I think the latest, no matter what, based on what I've been through experience, is 7 p.m. You should not eat after 7 p.m. at night if you're an endomorph, if you're trying to burn fat. And the reason why is because, for one, it's easier to control your calories, your caloric intake, your macro intake, and you're giving your body, as I just said, that time to focus on burning fat overnight and not focus on, you know, digesting food. And where I'm having the problem at is during the daytime. You know, I stretch myself out to the evening, and I have had a bad time or a hard time eating every hour on the hour at the volume that I should throughout the day, because I'm busy and all these other things, or I may not be hungry. Well, you can't really use that as an excuse. So I stress to you, don't fall into the problem that I fall into. You know, map out your day, look at your calories, and say, okay, well, you know, I may want, you know, X amount of calories for my last meal, but all these other hours throughout the day, or however you have your day set up to where you eat, I have to eat these calories throughout the day. You need a meal plan. You know, it's pretty much not gonna work without a balanced meal plan, especially if you are already having problems with late night eating and you're a big eater. You know, you are going to have to figure out how to balance out your food throughout the day to the point where, you know, you're going in that last meal and you may be hungry, but you're not like, you know, you're not, you know, oh, I'm so hungry, you know, you're not going nuts. So, you know, the ways I deal with that is, you know, actually creating a meal plan, writing down a meal plan, you know, and following that meal plan. Now, I haven't had the easiest time doing that lately, so maybe, you know, one thing I'm thinking about doing is set an alarm, and it's like, no matter what, I'm eating at those times of the day. We have these phones, this great technology, you know, make your food ahead of time, you know, already have it all together, have it sitting out, which I like to do. You know, when the food's already prepped and it's sitting there, it's very easy to just grab it, eat, move on with your day. You know, I've suggested in the past, you know, eating out, but you know, I've noticed for myself that, you know, when you eat out and you're going to places that you can count calories, you know, sometimes it's not as, you know, it's just not as easy. You know, sometimes depends on who you are. If you have certain places mapped out, you know, great, but what I've noticed with that is, unless you're going to places where they really control the portion sizes and they're on point with their nutrition facts, you know, it's going to be pretty difficult to make sure that the macros are exactly the right numbers per day for you. So you got to play with it, you know. But I can't, you know, it's like I always say, I can't teach you the method that is going to work for you. I can share a bunch of ideas, and then you can, you know, go through them or weave through them or whatever to figure out what's going to be best for you. But the gist of the video is this: you can do all the cardio in the world, but if those macros are not dialed in, you know, your fat loss is not going to be as great as it would be if your eating was under control. You got to get your eating under control. You got to get your eating under control. No eating control, no freaking long-term fat loss. You go right back to spinning your wheels. And just my suggestion, you know, from, like I said, from experience, once again, stop eating, you know, don't eat after 7. Back when I was doing my best, I didn't eat after 5. I ate 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard. You know, fasting, you know, many hours, you know, it puts a lot of stress on you. But, you know, if you're an endomorph and you're having problems with eating big and overeating, you have to figure out a default lifestyle that is going to keep your calories, you know, under control and your eating under control. And the best way to do that, I think, is an eating window. If you subject yourself to an eating window and you let that become part of your, you know, daily habits, then, you know, it becomes a lot easier to control overeating. Sure, though, you know, there'll be times when you overeat even in that window. You know, I'm not saying you won't. You know, you're a human, but in all reality, you know, endomorphs, you know, you're a big eater. And you can't eat a lot of refined carbs or carbohydrates. So not only are you dealing with the problem of that, you're also dealing with the problem of, you know, having to keep your calories under control, which again is a major problem for people that are endomorphs. Endomorphs have a hard time not eating, or eating, they have a hard time with energy balance. They have a hard time understanding that their body does not need the amount of food that they eat. Very hard time. So, you know, I stress to you, look at your behavior. You know, jump on articles that talk about, you know, behavior, you know, why people eat, the behavior, the mental side of why people eat. You know, you'll find a lot of information in there that will help you as an endomorph, you know, pluck ideas that are surrounding some of the behavior that you have and your relationship with food. So, sorry, videos all over the place. You know, I just got done doing cardio. I'm just trying to get the video done. I have a life. I got things to do, but I do my best to share stuff that I feel will point you in the right direction. But, you know, get the eating under control, don't eat late, and start reading about the behavior of eating, why people overeat, why people eat when they're sad, why people eat when they're happy, why people tend to engage in eating for special events, you know, and, you know, just that whole, like, the lifestyle in this country of eating, or, you know, and everything has something to do with eating. Heck, go on a hike. You know, if somebody graduates from high school, go take them on a hike. You know, why do you need to eat? Or if you're gonna eat, everybody go do like a long walk around the lake or something like that, you know, and expend a bunch of energy and then go eat, you know, which is what you really should be doing. Heck, you should be eating after your last, or you should be walking after your last meal too. That's another idea, a little nugget I'll lay in there at the end of the video, since probably people don't want to watch the whole video because I'm just rambling, but whatever, you know, you don't gotta watch the video. You know, it's all good with me. You know, the video will be out there, somebody will listen to it, and hopefully it'll help their life. If no one listens to it, then it'll just be out there. But eat after, or walk or exercise a little bit after your last meal of the day. They say like 1,000 steps or something like that is good enough. If you can do 1,000 steps, let's just say 2,000 steps, I can't remember, something like that. 2,000 steps after you eat your last meal. You know, if you have a treadmill, you just walk at an incline on your treadmill. 1,000 steps, man. that, or 2,000 steps. That ain't much. That's all I got today. Happy Monday.